Susan Sontag was an American writer and political activist, and in her piece regarding the torture of others, she informs readers about the photographs of torture of Iraqi prisoners by Americans, and also sort of persuades the readers against the American government and the way they reacted to the photographs. Sontag says that photos record the present for history. She criticises the government, saying they condemn the photos rather than the content, and they refuse to use the word torture. She says that there's lots of forms of torture, and many were used on the prisoners, which is not allowed under any circumstances by law. She said that the president cared more about himself and America than the victims. She added that we should care about whether the torture was systematic or condoned, and that we should be concerned over whether the American system, increases the likelihood of torture. The Iraqi prisoners had no rights, essentially increasing their risk of torture. The photos show grinning perpetrators who are proud of their actions, and they were sort of taken to send a message. People are obsessed with recording their dramatic lives, and a lot of the torture images are of sexual in nature, possibly due to the porn culture. Also, some non-torture pornographic images of soldiers mixed in. Sontag says that the torture itself results from the need to share our life, the exciting parts of our life, and also the idea that those beneath us deserve to be humiliated and tormented. He says that the torture for fun shows the idea of growing acceptance of brutality within America. The torture is seen as having a good time. The Americans are sort of excusing the torture, saying that they need to do it, and they also demonstrate the culture of shamelessness. She says the war on terrorism is endless. It's used to justify the dehumanization of terrorists. Most prisoners actually face no charges. They're detained indefinitely for interrogation, and if they're there indefinitely, then they're bound to face torture. The American fear of failure, so failure to obtain information, leads to them using torture to gain this information, but it's interesting to note that it's not just used to gain information, it's also used for fun. The photos will not go away and cannot be denied, unlike writing. So the government is apologetic, but apologetic for the damage caused to the army, not the prisoners. It cares about freedom, but it doesn't care about other people's freedom, only its own. America blames the terrorists, actually, painting them as evil to excuse its own behaviour. The media are blamed for publishing photos leading to violence against Americans rather than those that committed the violence being blamed for the violence. It's important to remember that Americans dying due to the photo content, not the photos, which is something the government, she says, seems to have forgotten. Lots of soldiers in the photos, in the backgrounds of the photos, are also doing nothing, showing that torture was a way of life and very commonplace for them. The government is more worried about harm done by the photos than harm in the photos. You cannot censor soldiers due to the power of social media, therefore the soldiers' actions cannot go away. The government tried to prevent the publication of the photos rather than preventing the torture. There is more care for the American image than the torture images. The photos will last forever. She says the American image is ruined forever. Sorry, that's another longer video, but it was a long article.